You know how they say getting those life-saving drugs into patients' hands faster is like the holy grail of drug development? Well, today we're diving deep into how companies are using strategic outsourcing to try to do just that. We'll be pulling from this article, "The Future is Outsourced," and really getting into some real-world examples of how this all works. And don't worry, we've got our expert here to make sure we all understand even the trickier parts, like what in the world a small molecule API is. Ready to learn something new?
Absolutely. Let's unpack it all.
So the article doesn't hold back, saying that the old way of developing drugs just isn't cutting it anymore. It's almost like they're saying adapt or die, which, okay, a little dramatic maybe, but are they onto something?
I wouldn't say dramatic at all. It's true. The pharmaceutical world is seriously complicated and it never stops changing. The article's point is that companies have to be amazing at innovating, but even more, they have to do it faster and smarter than ever.
I guess because the faster they can get a drug to market, the faster it can start helping people?
Exactly. But it's not just about speed either. It's about handling all the challenges of drug development, from those strict regulations to making sure things are manufactured correctly. That's where strategic outsourcing comes in.
You mean instead of companies trying to do every single thing themselves, they're realizing it's better to work with experts?
Exactly. It's about not wasting time and resources trying to reinvent the wheel. It makes more sense to partner with people who've already mastered a specific thing. That's what they mean by strategic outsourcing. It's not just handing off tasks. It's about picking the right partners with the right skills.
And is that where those small molecule APIs come into play? The article mentions them a lot, but I gotta be honest, I'm not totally clear on what they actually are.
That's totally understandable. Think of small molecule APIs like the core ingredients in a lot of the medicines we take. They're basically tiny molecules, each with its own special properties that work in a very specific way with our bodies.
Okay, so if these small molecule APIs are so important, why outsource their production? Why not just keep that part in-house?
Now, that's a great question. See, to manufacture these small molecule APIs, you need very specialized equipment, deep expertise, and you absolutely have to follow a ton of regulations. For a lot of companies, especially those focused more on the research and development side, building and maintaining that kind of infrastructure themselves is crazy expensive and complex.
Like trying to be a master chef, a master electrician, and a master architect all at the same time, isn't it?
You got it. And that's exactly when outsourcing to these specialist manufacturers called CDMOs becomes a huge advantage.
Hold on, CDMO, what does that even stand for?
It stands for Contract Development and Manufacturing Organization. They're basically the pros, the ones who take those small molecule APIs from just an idea to actually being made on a large scale. They have the facilities, the knowledge, and they know all the ins and outs of the manufacturing regulations.
So it's like CDMOs are kind of the unsung heroes in the background, making sure the drug gets made while the researchers can focus on, well, researching.
Exactly. Think of them like a pit crew, making sure the race car, the drug in this case, is totally fine-tuned and ready to cross the finish line. Speaking of which, the article goes into some really interesting examples of this in action.
Oh yeah, let's hear them. Love a good real-world story.
All right, so there's this company, Pharmacore, and they're working on this new heart drug. We could be talking seriously groundbreaking stuff, but they hit a wall when they try to figure out how to make enough of their small molecule API.
They had like the secret recipe, but not a big enough kitchen to feed everyone.
Right. And in their case, time was super important. They couldn't just build a whole new factory from the ground up, not to mention all the regulations that would involve.
So what'd they do?
They decided to team up with a CDMO that specialized in making small molecule APIs. That smart move let Pharmacore put all their attention and resources back into what they were best at, the research development and the clinical trials.
So they brought in the big guns, specifically for the manufacturing part. How'd that work out?
It was a total game changer. Not only did they get their drug launched right on time, but their manufacturing costs went down too.
How much were we talking?
They said something like 20% less, which is huge in an industry where every dollar matters, right? But even more than that, by being strategic about outsourcing, they got that life-saving treatment to people a lot faster.
Which is what really counts at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Getting those treatments out there. So Pharmacore, they partnered up for help with the actual making of the drug. What other kinds of strategic outsourcing are we seeing in pharmaceuticals?
Well, there's this other company, NeuroHeal, that had a completely different challenge. This time it was all about the regulations. They were developing a drug for neurodegenerative diseases, but the FDA requirements were just overwhelming.
Can't even imagine. The regulatory stuff is like its own maze you got to get through.
Exactly. And for a company like NeuroHeal, who were so focused on finding a cure, having to deal with all that paperwork was a huge distraction. That's where Enkrisi stepped in. They're all about guiding companies through all those complicated regulatory submissions, like a Sherpa for FDA approval.
Oh, so they brought on Enkrisi to be their regulatory guide. What happened then?
Well, Enkrisi not only helped them get everything submitted correctly to the FDA, but they actually got them something called Fast Track designation for their drug.
That fast track thing is huge. Right. It's not just about getting through the process, but doing it quicker. How much time did that save NeuroHeal?
It shaved off a ton of time. We could be talking years, which meant their treatment could potentially reach patients that much sooner. And in the drug development world, time really is the most valuable thing there is.
It's crazy how these partnerships aren't just about saving money or making things easier. It's actually about saving lives. Companies like PharmaCore and NeuroHeal, by working with these other experts, they can stay laser focused on what they're good at and get those life-changing treatments out there quicker and better than ever. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. These partnerships could be what gets us cures and better treatments faster than ever before.
Totally. And what's really cool is that this whole move towards strategic outsourcing, it's pushing the limits of what's possible in drug development. Companies are hitting milestones in record time, all because they're collaborating in smart ways.
So Enkrisi, those CDMOs, those are just like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the types of outsourcing happening in pharma these days.
Exactly. It's like this whole network of specialized knowledge and skills. We're talking companies that handle clinical trials, regulatory stuff, even AI-powered drug discovery. It's wild.
It's like pharma companies are realizing they don't have to be a jack of all trades anymore, right?
And that's a good thing. When you have this kind of team-based approach, the whole industry can move faster, be more adaptable, and in the end, get better results for patients.
This whole deep dive has been seriously eye-opening. So if we had to pick one big takeaway for anyone listening, especially those involved in the pharmaceutical world, what would it be?
I think the big takeaway is this. In an industry as complicated and fast-moving as pharmaceuticals, strategic outsourcing, it's not optional anymore. It's not just nice to have, it's mission critical. It's about knowing what you're good at, figuring out where you need help, and finding those perfect partners who can help you reach your goals. And do it faster, do it better.
So much better than trying to do it all yourself.
100%. It's all about collaboration, innovation, and really, at the end of the day, a shared goal of making people healthier.
Couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much for taking us on this deep dive. This has been incredible.
Happy to do it. Always love talking about something so important and ever-changing.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the future of pharmaceuticals. We hope you found it as fascinating as we did. Until next time.